Let me tell you about the application process. There will be an orientation meeting that you will have to view, and it will be uploaded onto the ADE website sometime this spring. The video has not even been constructed yet. Michael Rowland does part of it, and I do the other part of it. Usually we do it through AETN, but for some reason this year we're doing it through ADE, and we're supposed to do it this month, but the month is getting away from us. I'm not sure the timeline, but you have to watch the orientation meeting, video. It's usually 45 minutes to an hour. It's not extremely long, but there is a quiz. So take notes as you're watching it because you have to pass the quiz to be eligible to apply. The quiz, I wrote the quiz. It's based on everything that I say, and you're hearing a lot of it today too. So it's not a real difficult quiz. That application form has some references, some assurances forms. You'll have to get your principal to sign off with support, some basic things like that. And those are important because if you don't do that, you can't make formal application. But the other part of the application is very similar to the writing style of the components required in the process. You have to write a 2-page analysis of your work with a group of students within a lesson. Then you have to write a 2-page analysis of your work as a professional. And in both cases, you have to tie it to student achievement. And again, this information will be shared at that orientation video that you'll watch. That writing is not narrative writing. It is not your benchmark writing. It is not expository. It is technical. Yeah. I do this because Jonathan needs this so that he can learn this. And because we did this, this is the change. And the change can be academic, it can be behavioral, it can be social. The change does not have to be test scores, is my point. It can be various things. So what we do, and you've got a little yellow sheet on your form, I'm going to put a little advertisement in here. At Harding, that National Board program that I was telling you about, we teach 2 courses, 2 graduate courses. I used to come up here and teach them at our campus here at Rogers. You know, we have a brand new, beautiful campus at Exit 83. Have you all seen it? It's just gorgeous. You need to stop in and look at it. We were at 86, and that was nice, but we were renting, spending a lot of money on rent every month. Now we own our building, and we're so happy. But I used to come up here and teach the class, and then I had someone who went through my program, achieved, and she teaches, she teaches at Greenbrier, but her mom lives up here. So she comes up and teaches the class for me up here, and she's fantastic. Nancy Woodall, some of you may know her. She's a career tech teacher at Greenbrier High School. She's just fantastic. And I will tell you, I'm very picky on who teaches my National Board classes, because this is my baby. You know, I grew it, and I'm still growing it. But what we do, we take that application process, the writing part, and during the class in June, we use the prompts from the application process to teach the candidates what is National Board writing. So we're doing 2 things at once. You know, we're learning the writing process, we're learning the 5 core propositions, which you have to know because it's the foundation. We're learning the standards for National Board, but we're using the state application to practice all of that information. So you're going to spend some time on writing in those 4 days. And the yellow form, you'll see it's the Rogers section there. That's 1 class. It's 4 days in June and 1 day in September. That's 1 class, 3 hours. A 3-hour graduate class at Harding costs $2,000.60. That's current tuition. Because you are full-time teachers, you get a 40% discount automatically. You just have to fill out a piece of paper. So 40% off brings it down to $1,200. And then this particular class is discounted an additional $600. And that's because the university president approved it. I asked for it one day, and he said, okay, I wish I'd asked for more. You know, I didn't know it was that good of a day. Really. Then we have a second class, which I do not have any information to give to you on it because we don't have a date set. So this class ends in September. I bring in Dr. Jerry Parks in September in Searcy. That's why all the groups meet in Searcy. He is a 6th grade social studies teacher from Lexington, Kentucky. He's an NBCT, he's a Hall of Famer, and he's written 2 of the books we use. He's fantastic, he's motivational, and he'll spend half of that day giving you a workshop on how do I make sure that I'm going to be successful. So he's awesome, and that's just part of the class. That's just what we do. The second class will start in October, and up here at Rogers, Nancy does it on Saturdays, one Saturday a month from October to early May. We'll have a 3-day retreat in April where we all convene together on the Harding campus in Searcy. That's part of the class again. You'll stay in the Heritage Inn. You'll have food provided, and I'll bring in up to 30 NVCTs for the weekend, and they will be reading all of your components. You see, it's due May 16th. So we've spent all year working on those components, helping with the writing, bringing in NVCTs at different times, and then we end it with this 3-day retreat to get you wrapped up and ready to upload it onto the website. I think it's perfect, but I created it. I can be a little biased, I guess. But I wanted you to know about the ADE funding. Okay, another piece that, again, is not going to be on this PowerPoint is that tuition still costs money, even though it's discounted. And there is a program, you're going to have to pursue this, though, because I can't do this for you. ADHE, Arkansas Department of Higher Education, and some of you probably already know about this, the Teacher Opportunity Program, TOP, T-O-P. Go onto their website, adhe.org, search for TOP, and it is a reimbursement program for you as an educator, up to 6 hours a year, up to $3,000. Both classes will not cost $3,000, so keep your receipts on your textbooks. They'll cost about $100, and you can probably get reimbursed on your textbooks also. So you're going to need to contact ADHE, make sure that you know the application cycle, that you know all the things that they will need so that you can get reimbursed. And it will come at the end of both of those classes. Usually it's the springtime sometime that they start the reimbursement process. So check into that to help you financially. Okay, so far what we know is the price has gone down. We know there are 4 components. They each cost $475. You're going to have to pay $75 just out of your pocket each year that you're a candidate. There's no funding for that. So you'll just have to get a sponsor for that part of it.
Do they still have the federal funding for half funding?
That's a good question. At one time, the United States federal government sponsored half of the funding. That ended 2 years ago.
Okay.
We got it another year through a grant, but now we no longer have it. Yeah. It was a great opportunity because you could get half of it paid for. You didn't have to do an application. It was just a little 1-page demo form that you filled out. Is that what you did?
That's what I did. I
Yeah.
tried first for the state funding and didn't get that
Yeah,
into
and
the federal.
That's what I always told my candidates then. I said, if you don't get the state funding, you've learned so much, go for the federal funding. But that's not there anymore. And that was also the time frame when our economy was really dipping. And so a lot of things got cut, and that was one of them. I'll tell you, though, we lobbied hard. Several of us from Arkansas went to Washington, D.C. We met with our congressman. We really worked hard to keep that money, but it was already slashed basically before we ever showed up, It was just one of those things. So these are the 4 components. The first component is content knowledge, and this is where you'll go to Pearson. You'll sit at a computer. This has changed dramatically since the 3 of us went through the process. This content knowledge assessment now is it has 45 multiple choice questions based upon your content area, and then it has 3 open responses, where current candidates have 6 open responses and no multiple choice. So you see the difference. The multiple choice questions, the open response questions will deal with the age range of your certificate. So I was a high school teacher for 10 years, and then I moved to kindergarten for 6 years. And then I went to Harding University. So my most recent experience was early childhood. So I chose early childhood generalist as my certificate. I have taught English. I have licensure in English, science, math, home economics, family and consumer science now. But my most recent was early childhood. So when you choose your certificate, you want to choose your expertise area in your current teaching mode. But then you have an age range that you choose. When you choose early childhood generalist, the age range is chosen for you. It's ages 4 to 8. When you choose mathematics early adolescence, that's about 7th grade to 10th grade. And then there's young adult, which goes up to the higher high school. Well, these content knowledge open response questions are based upon the entire age range. Okay, I told you what I've taught because early childhood is ages 4 to 8. I've never taught preschool except at church. That doesn't really count. Well, it does, but not for this. And then I've never taught 2nd or 3rd grade and 1st grade only in summer school.
Please come to the front office.
But really and
Brandon,
truly,
to the
National
front
Board
office.
is calling you to know the content for your entire age range. So it's very important when you choose your certificate area, you not only choose your content wisely, you choose your age range wisely. I don't ever plan to teach preschool. That's not my plans unless God has something completely different in mind for me. But I still had to know everything developmentally and content about 4-year-olds, even though I never taught them, because I had a question about 4-year-olds, and it was in this piece in the assessment. So when you get ready to take this, and most people take this after they submit their entire, entry or components now. Normally, you don't have to though, you can take it early on, but you need time to study. It's definitely not a walk-in and just take it. You really want to spend some time looking at age range content, age range development, age range methodology, especially if you've only taught 1st grade your entire life or 10th grade geometry your entire life. Because if it's mathematics and you're doing the young adolescent, you're going to have geometry, algebra, trig, all of those upper level math classes, even if you don't teach them. It's still going to happen. And that's sometimes hard for all of us to grasp, including me. I didn't really want to have to deal with 4-year-olds, but I studied and I learned what I needed to.
I have a question about that.
Yes.
So we're talking about content knowledge. Right now I'm teaching biology. I teach high school biology. Would I also need to be ready to take content knowledge questions about physics or chemistry?
Actually, in science, you get to choose life or physical. So when you register, you'll make that decision on which it is.
And then would the certification be expressly in life or physical?
Yes, but it'll still be that wide range of age. Yeah, that's a very good question. So you would have the biology, the anatomy and physiology, that root of it, where physics would be the chemistry and the physics and that root. Very good question.
Is that at the early adolescent level as well, or?
Young adulthood,
Just
yeah.
young.
I'm not sure about early adolescence. We'd have to
For
check on that,
science?
yeah.
Okay.
And there's another one, career tech. Those of you that are business teachers, family consumer science, agri, once again, the certification is career tech, but when you register, you choose business or agri or family consumer science. World languages is the same way. You choose your language because you have to actually interpret the language you choose or translate the language you choose. I'm kind of going through my brain here to see if there are any others, and those are the ones I can just recall. Good question. Okay, component 2, this is going to be like an entry. You're going to track student growth, and your directions will tell you how many students and what time frame. You have to have assessments, you have to have data, you have to have evidence that the student was at point A and you got them to B, C, and D over X number of weeks. And you did it through knowing their mental intelligences, knowing their learning styles, knowing their preferences, their interests, their family background, their motivations, all of those things you take into account with what you set in place for them to learn. So some of the teachers that I've talked to today are going through the MAT program. They wouldn't be here because they're interns right now, but they were going through the MAT program. They were telling me they have an action research project where they are tracking student growth and doing projects like that. Well, if you've ever done action research, that's very much like component 2. You won't do a thesis paper. You'll write it as a technical piece analyzing why you did what you did and then the results that came from that. Are we good with that so far?
That, like one student, a group of students?
It varies by certificate. Like exceptional needs, it's 1 student. Early childhood, it's 2 students. It does vary, but it's very few students. Counseling is a small group. Any counselors in here? Okay, library media specialist. Okay, just a few students. And that library media specialists and counselors, I don't mean this you're kind of a different animal in a way, because you don't have like your set of kids all day, even if you change classes, but it's really set up well because library media specialists wrote your piece. They know, and counselors wrote the counseling piece. So it's very, it's designed just for you. Isn't that wonderful? Yeah, because that kind of relieves tension usually that people have. Okay, then component